Sophie loved books. From the moment she could read, the library became her second home. She loved wandering through the rows of shelves, her fingers brushing against the spines of countless stories, each one waiting to take her to a different world. But there was one particular spot in the library that Sophie always found mysterious: the old dusty corner at the back. The section of the library was hardly ever visited, filled with old books that no one seemed to touch. There were shelves that creaked and books that looked as if they hadn't been opened in years. But something about this corner always called to Sophie. It felt like there was a secret waiting to be discovered. One rainy afternoon, when Sophie was alone in the library, she ventured into the back corner once again. She had already read all the stories in the main part of the library and was now looking for something new. As she reached for an old leather-bound book, her fingers brushed against something hard behind the shelf. She paused, curious. She moved a few books aside, and to her surprise, there was a small wooden door hidden behind the shelves. It was so well concealed that she almost hadn't noticed it before. The door was just large enough for her to squeeze through. The wood was old and worn, with carvings of swirling vines and strange symbols that seemed to glow faintly in the dim light of the library. Sophie's heart raced. She had never seen this door before. Could it be a part of the library's secret? History? Was it some kind of hidden entrance? With a mix of excitement and curiosity, Sophie gently turned the brass doorknob. The door creaked open, revealing a narrow, winding staircase leading down into darkness. "Should I?" Sophie whispered. To herself, the thrill of adventure tugging at her. With a deep breath, Sophie stepped into the unknown, closing the door behind her. She descended the stairs slowly, the stone steps cold beneath her feet. The air smelled musty, as if no one had been here for centuries. At the bottom of the stairs, Sophie found herself in a small, dimly lit room. It was unlike any part of the library she had ever seen. The walls were lined with bookshelves that stretched all the way to the ceiling, filled with books Sophie had never seen before. But what caught her eye the most was a single glowing book resting on a pedestal in the center of the room. It shimmered with a strange golden light, and its pages seemed to ripple as though they were alive. Sophie couldn't resist. She walked towards the pedestal, her footsteps echoing in the quiet room. As she reached for the book, a voice suddenly echoed in her mind. Only those who believe in the magic of stories may read this book. Sophie froze, her hand hovering over the book. Was it her imagination, or had the voice truly spoken to her? She looked around, but the room was still and silent. With a deep breath, Sophie opened the book. As soon as she did, a swirl of light enveloped her, and she felt herself being pulled into the pages. Everything around her began to blur and spin, and Sophie gasped as she found herself falling into the book. Sophie landed softly on the ground, blinking in surprise. She was no longer in the hidden room beneath the library. Instead, she stood in the middle of a vast forest, with towering trees and strange, glowing plants surrounding her. The air was thick with the scent of pine and something sweet she couldn't quite place. "Where am I?" she whispered, taking in her new surroundings. It felt like a dream, but everything seemed so real. From behind one of the trees, a creature stepped out. It was a small, furry creature with large, round eyes and a fluffy tail. It looked at Sophie curiously. "Hello?" the creature said in a high-pitched voice. "I'm Twill the Storykeeper. Welcome to the Land of Forgotten Tales." Sophie blinked in disbelief. "The Land of Forgotten Tales?" "Yes," Twill said, bouncing around her. "This is the place where all the stories that have been lost or forgotten go. The stories that never got told. The stories that need a new reader, a new believer, to bring them back to life." Sophie looked around. There were books scattered all over the forest floor. Some large and heavy, others small and delicate. Some were opened, their pages fluttering in the wind, while others were closed, waiting for someone to rediscover them. "You mean," Sophie began, "these stories are real?" "Real?" Twill asked, tilting its head. "Of course they are. They only need someone like you to believe in them again, to remember them, to bring them back to life. You see, when a story is forgotten, it fades from the world. But when someone like you reads it, the story comes back, stronger than ever. Sophie felt a spark of excitement. But how do I bring them back? Easy, Twill grinned. Just read. Every book here is waiting for someone to open it. When you do, the story will come alive, and it will find its way back to the world. The more stories you bring back, the more you'll learn about this place. Sophie could hardly contain her excitement. Where do I start? Twill pointed to a large book resting on a tree stump nearby. It was glowing with a soft, inviting light. That one, Twill said. It's been waiting for a long time. Sophie picked up the book and opened it carefully. As she read the first words, aloud, the world around her seemed to shimmer and shift. The forest came to life. Trees swayed, animals appeared, and even the air felt charged with energy. Sophie read on, captivated by the tale that unfolded before her. As she read, Sophie realized that the stories she brought to life weren't just tales. They were adventures, journeys to distant lands, and challenges to overcome. She became a part of each story, learning lessons about courage, friendship, and the importance of imagination. After what felt like hours, Sophie closed the book. The forest around her began to fade, and she was back in the hidden room beneath the library. The book in her hands was glowing faintly, and Sophie felt a sense of peace wash over her. She had done it. She had brought a forgotten story back to life. Sophie stood up, looking around the room. The hidden door behind her beckoned, and she knew that she had only scratched the surface of the magical world within the library. With a smile, she stepped back into the library, knowing she would return to the secret door whenever she needed a new adventure. The library wasn't just a place for reading anymore. It was a portal to worlds beyond her wildest dreams.